Welcome in a post-game live brought to you by New England Ford Dealers. A look at that final score down there at AT&T Stadium. 38-3, the Patriots lose to the Cowboys, the largest loss in Bill Belichick's career. Michael Holley, Tommy Curran, Ted Johnson, Amina Smith here with you. And guys, this was a rout by the Cowboys on the Patriots. I did not think that this game was going to go that way. I had actually picked the Patriots to win this matchup. I thought it'd be a little bit more competitive. Holley, what happened out there in Texas?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, it was one of those games that the Patriots didn't do anything right from the start. I don't think they had the right mentality from their penalties in the beginning of the game to their play calling in a critical moment very early in the first quarter, passing up a great third and one opportunity, which I thought was two down territory, resulting in a field goal to Mac Jones, just throwing the ball in places he just knows better. He knows he doesn't have the physical ability to make throws like that. But, you know, Tom, I think this is the kind of game where if you're the Patriots, you look at it and you say you question every aspect of the operation. Every aspect of the operation, your coaching approach, who you've got at quarterback, what your philosophy, everything. It was that bad. It was 35-point deficit, and it was even worse than that.
And it's not even for the small window. It is globally what your organization, where it's headed. And to look for the black box and try and figure out why the plane crashed on this particular day is fruitless. It's irrelevant. To try and figure out where this team is now after such a decisive loss gives you actual clarity to where the Patriots really are. You got people like me who have been insisting if you stop with the penalties and you stop with the silly turnovers and don't dig yourself a hole, you're a pretty good team. Matthew Judon's told us that. I've believed that. I went through a litany of trailing of Patriots deficits over the last 10 games, and 9 of them, they've been down by at least 7 points, some much more than that. And that really speaks to an inherent problem with the team being prepared when it gets to the field. It also speaks to an inherent problem with the personnel on the team when it falls behind that much. So why does that happen? We're going to have a lot of Mac Jones conversation in this program, Ted Johnson.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot of blame laying in this conversation in this week. But I don't think that the interrogation should stop with Mac Jones. It has to look at the direction of the team and whether it has become stale and rotten. And the decisiveness of this loss allows people like me to stop pretending that it's not as bad as it seems and it's just a tick away.
Those days are done, right, Tom? I mean, and you had Greg Olson on the broadcast basically echoing what you just said, where, you know, here's a guy that doesn't live here like we do and cover this team like you guys do every single day. Here he is saying everything's going to come into question. And the way this game was lost, the way the game looked, the whole approach, the play calling, the players, the roster, the in-game management is all the philosophies, everything is going to be analyzed and dissected now more than it ever has because of the way they lost this game. I mean, it was an embarrassing loss, and the flight home is going to be a long one. And this is one of those games. I mean, they kind of caught a little bit of momentum back by beating the Jets, and they gave it all away and then some in this game. And so there's going to be a lot of guys questioning the coaching, a lot of coaches questioning the players. There's going to be a lot of issues because this game really exposed this team in a lot of areas, and there's really no going back after a game like this.
I don't know if it was this game, though. I don't know if this game.
You don't think this was the tipping point?
Well, it may be the tipping point, but it's been happening. It's been hiding in plain sight. We just haven't said it out loud.
Right.
It's really been happening. We talked about it in pregame. So the last 2 years, 2021, 2022, against playoff teams, known playoff teams, the Patriots are 3-12. The 3 wins: Skylar Thompson. Injuries against the Tennessee Titans at home, and then the win game in Buffalo. So 3-12 against playoff teams, 1 win against a playoff team on the road. That was the win game in Buffalo. And we know, like, Dallas is likely going to the playoffs. Add another loss there. Miami's going to the playoffs this year. Add another loss. And then Philadelphia.
And they're non-competitive.
So what they're done, essentially, you got 18 wins in 21 and 22 combined, and 15 of the 18 are against bums. When they play playoff teams, they don't win. And we fooled ourselves because the games are close. So we think they're close. Oh, they're right there. If. That's how bad teams talk. They are a bad football team, and we just haven't said it like that. We need to say it. They're a bad team.
Ted, you talked about a quiet plane ride home for this Patriots team, a 35-point loss to the Cowboys. I mean, where do you even begin that conversation? I'm sure it doesn't begin maybe today on the plane, but how do you have that conversation in the locker room? What does that even sound like coming from Bill Belichick?
Well, that's a good question. I'm sure it's what the tone and tenor is going to be of Bill Belichick when he addresses this team, because, again, and I've talked about it, when the team started 0-2. I referenced a time that I was on a team when Bill Belichick was my coach. We started 0-2 and he buried the football, and that was a great motivational tactic. It kind of got everybody back focused and we got back on. I just don't know what tricks he's going to be able to pull out of his hat. How is he going to motivate? How is he going to devise game plans? How is he going to come up with ways to beat these teams when it just looks like they don't have an answer for anything? It's fascinating to kind of see this defense. Just if I talk on the defense for real quick, is supposed to be obviously the better unit on this team than the offense. But that Dallas offense had an answer for everything the Patriots defense threw at them, an answer for everything. The Miami Dolphins had an answer for everything the Patriots defense threw at them. And so when the defense, who is supposed to be the best unit on your team, is not delivering like it's supposed to, that's even more of a gut punch, because if the defense doesn't show up every single game and play and show out, then this team never had a chance.
What's interesting about this game is just when you look at everybody had a share in it. The Patriots had an opportunity. The defense obviously let up a field goal at the outset, but Bill Belichick had an opportunity to realize you're an overmatched team on the road. You need to go in with aggressiveness. Yet on a 3rd and goal from the 6, he threw once and then kicked a field goal. Okay, so he failed. Then you saw Mac Jones continually begin to disintegrate. You saw Mike Nguyen committing penalties that put him behind the sticks. And then what I saw from Mac Jones, and part of the reason I think he ended up on the bench, is I saw a little quit in him. I saw a little give up. And I think that's why he
almost like he was relieved to get pulled out of that thing.
I don't know if I saw him.
It looked like a little bit of relief.
Some of the throws that he was making, there was, especially the one that Juju Smith-Schuster that airmailed him, was, I just got to get this ball out of here and get out of here before I get hit. And that hasn't been him. He's been willing to take the hits, and he's not in a position where he's been with this team long enough to allow your on-field leader to say F it. And I thought that looked like an F it throw and an F it effort. I'm not sure. Yeah,
is that the one right there?
Yeah, right there.
Is that the backpedaling one?
Yeah,
he was backpedaling to avoid the hit?
Yeah.
He was doing that. That was the worst example of it.
And that's where I said, you know what? That's enough of that.
Yeah, Mac Jones had made some bad decisions out there, throwing across his body. He looked flustered going into the second half. Holley, what do you think maybe threw Mac Jones off of his game? Was it the Cowboys' defense, the situation of them being down by so much in this game? What do you think threw Mac Jones off?
I don't know. He was never in it. I felt like his head was never really in the game. He was out of it, and so that was the first part of it. The other part is this is a bad matchup for him. So if you're trailing the Dallas Cowboys early 18-3 after the 2-point conversion on we thought was going to be an extra point, they get the 2-point conversion. They saw something on film. We'll get to that later. So you're down 15 points to the Cowboys, and now you've got to throw against a Dan Quinn defense. We know his whole philosophy, whether it's cover 3 or man. We can go back and forth on that. He's an aggressive coach. He has fast players. They're undersized players. They're ball hawks. This is what they do. That's a bad matchup for Mac Jones, who was more of a precise, methodical guy. He's not a throw it down the field. He doesn't throw it with zip. So if it's not right on the money, he's gonna have problems. And there it is. That's just not his game. And the last thing I'll say is, Ted and Tom, Bill Belichick truly has never been in this position before. So the 35-point loss, never had this in his 29-year career as a head coach, New England and Cleveland. And you go to New England, okay, 31-point loss. Ted, you're on that team, 2003, the cut Lawyer Malloy. Well, you know what you've done? You won the Super Bowl 2 years earlier. You had veterans on the team, Ted Johnson, Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Willie McGinnis. You got all these guys. You can rely on these, but Tom Brady, you can rely on. 35-point loss? Who does he rely on now? He doesn't even have a quarterback, right? He doesn't know who he has a quarterback. He really doesn't.
With benching Mac too, Ted, you're going to now incur a level of scapegoating, I think, that Bill is going to engage in. And I think if you're Mac, you can look and say, where's the protection? Why were we behind the sticks with Mike Nguyen jumping off sides? When are we going to do something about the penalties our team incurs? Why situationally, when we're playing a cover 3, defense that we've always exploited, or the Patriots historically did. Mac wasn't here for it. Had a third down back who could go out and catch 14 passes, and they don't have that. So it's going to be Bill is going to 1,000,000% direct, whether it be passive aggressively, by deed or word, most likely just by not saying anything, the blame toward Mac. I think that if the agitation existed prior, Bill's happy to have it now.
It's only going to be exacerbated, Tom, and it's a great point. I mean, you're starting to hear your rumblings of Mac. Maybe some of his teammates aren't on board with Mac. We know there's maybe distrust there between the head coach and Mac. And what you just said, what you highlighted is only going to get exacerbated. The one guy that I think, the guy that can really maybe just make this, I want to say totally go away, because the roster is the roster. They only have so much talent, but how Bill Belichick handles this loss, his attitude, how he approaches it, his tone with the team is going to determine a lot of things. If he kind of is a sourpuss and he deflects blame and he starts pointing fingers a little bit in a passive-aggressive way, it could really backfire. So he's got to be very careful on how he addresses the team this week and moving forward.